talk about context, particularly the context for engaging with a person and assumptions that we have about life. A key assumption that we have is that we need to have a context when talking to other people. In a therapy session, or a teacher-student, or a date, parent, child, the context is very clear. People know what their roles are. They have a greater clarity, maybe not complete clarity, about their objectives. And the shadow is somewhat predictable. What I've spoken about before is the idea that in a therapy context, the therapist could start behind a desk and then either a random or appointed moment or the last 5 minutes or the midway point switch positions so that the client is behind the desk, and it can create a shift. In my work with nonverbal children, I think it's a similar thing, in that the general assumption is that they should be verbal and that their intelligence should be seen, or that they don't have intelligence. All these assumptions about what's happening based on our observations and our expectations. And if a child's completely nonverbal and not particularly interested in or identified any preference that they have, getting them to say yes and no are very difficult, because do you want the cookie? Yes or no? Well, if they want the cookie, they're motivated to understand yes and no and communicate you what they want. Another practice is to point to your nose or your mouth and say, is this my nose? And then you're expecting the child will say yes. But is it really your nose? That's the other question. We're assuming it's your nose. Who are you that you own this nose? I mean, legally, they'd say it's your nose. Someone can't go off and run off with your nose. It would be theft if they took your nose without your permission. But let's go beyond that level of consciousness, that perspective, that context, that assumption, to say, what if you don't own anything? You don't own your nose. You don't own your body. You don't own your car. You don't own your house. You don't own the air and water. Legally, these things may be quantifiable and enforceable, but really, if you're pure awareness, you don't own anything. The closest you can come is being a container by which thoughts about these things arise. And this is a leap for a lot of people to take, and I'm not interested in leaps for no purpose. Is it useful? Well, yeah, it's useful because then you're not attached. If the car gets old and breaks, if your nose is not the right shape that you want, or whatever your thing that you're saying is mine isn't as you want, or it is as you want and you fear losing it, you're attached. And if you're attached, then during the return, my theory is that you're going to have grasping, judging, regretting, and guilt as you enter the bardo. This call, trial, return, bardo comes from Jung, and he was talking about the hero returning, cultures all around the world, the hero returning with the gifts. And that idea of wanting to be the rescuer, whether you're a therapist, teacher, parent, whatever your context is, whatever the assumption is, if you're bringing back some gifts, like Moses with the Ten Commandments, you feel like you want to be appreciated. And if instead they're worshiping a golden calf, or nobody's interested in what you have to say, you don't get to play that rescuer role. And you can get angry. And we saw with Moses, assuming the Bible story is true, which I can't have any comment about, he didn't get into the land of Canaan, the promised land, because he hit a rock instead of talking to it. You're supposed to talk to it. What if the rock is your body? What if you're supposed to talk to your body? So it's not that you own the body, it's not that it's a vehicle or a machine, but that you just talk to it. You unite with it. Try to understand, what is it seeking to communicate? What am I hiding from that the body wants me to see? I can't say if anything that's true, but taking that context then, particularly around backache, we can have a lot of stories or we can ignore a lot of stories. And the idea here is just to say, I'm open. Please show me. If there's anything for me to see, please show me. Talking to your own body. You could say you're talking to God, whatever you want to say, but that idea of humility and dropping the context and dropping the assumptions, to me, that is aligned with the way.